This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Welcome to Body Count, a history podcast.
Hello and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and a proud member of the Big Heads Podcast Network. Now, we're here to show you don't hate history. You just hate the way it was taught to you. Only rule when we choose a topic, someone, or as is usually the case, a lot of someone's died. We give you the series of events in a narrative fashion, and by the end, correlate said story with current events. Now, I'm not PBS Ken Burns or Dan Carlin. If you want a Hoover-esque Just the Facts Ma'am history podcast, we're not going to be for you. I.e., there will be analysis, opinions. This is not a lecture, and we do act like ass clowns. My opinions are my own. Know that I hold all of my co-hosts verbally hostage. Direct your hate at me where it belongs. Now, it's said tragedy plus time equals comedy. No, we giggle at some occasionally rough subject matter. We're not actively trying to offend anyone. You've been warned. If you're okay with all of those things, I am your host, Jessica Manor, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host,
Bethany Skelton. Hello. I'm back with my crown, and I'm feeling fabulous today. Fabulous.
And we're joined once more by our guest, but hold on. Steph, I want to read you in. I want to do like Job from Arrested Development.
I don't have time for your magic tricks.
Illusions, Dad. You don't have time for my illusion.
I want to do the dun-dun-dun-dun,
Dun-dun-dun. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, introduce yourself now.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Andrews, and I don't know much about a lot of stuff, but I know some stuff about some stuff. So, yeah, thank you for having me on the show again. I
You're
didn't even
already
think about
more
it.
qualified than 90% of our guests.
Stuff, you're golden. You're good.
Right.
You're in. I can do some stuff. I can.
You've already got, I missed my lip, y'all. I just straight up missed my lip. Good thing it's comic.
We haven't even got started yet, Jess.
I'm not even intoxicated. That's the worst part. I'm just clumsy. So before we get to our chatter, I'm going to go through this because I got to scroll down on a page, guys. As always, a lot to get to. Housekeeping. First, we are part of the Big Heads Podcast Network, which is a great collection of podcasts. As always, super excited to be a part of that. So please go and check them out on social media, everyone. If you love the show, please go and give us those 5 stars on iTunes. You can say whatever you want about us. Call us, B's and C's and whatever part of the alphabet you prefer. That's up to you. But go crazy. Go nuts. We're not going to be offended as long as we get those 5 stars. You give me 3 stars, like, go fuck yourself. You can't say whatever you want.
We'll start DMing you.
I will. I will find you. I will find you. That helps us out on the business end. I know it seems like a crazy ask and it seems silly, but it really does help us move up those iTunes charts. To that note, Patreon's back up and running. We're going to be posting this video, a couple of other videos that we've got. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to put them up there for free so everybody can watch us actually do this stuff. I'm going to release them today or tomorrow, so it'll all be out there. We've got interviews, body counts, a bunch of other stuff coming down the pipe at you on Patreon. You can watch us do all these, a bunch of different ones. Rasputin's up right now. That one's a lot of fun. We're idiots live in living color right there for you to watch us be ridiculous. You can actively watch the drinking occur, and that's always fun. We keep you updated via social media, where that's all going to be, where to follow us. We also ask that you go check out our website, or always our website, but go and check out the network's website specifically, because that's where you're going to find our merchandise, which apparently we have now. I always forget to plug it. You'll be able to see it. Bethany's actually got our shirt on. I'm a terrible host because I do not have my own merchandise. That is all
better than you.
You know, we've introed last week. We tried to send you guys to listen to the old episodes. We're tired of doing that because I just don't want to anymore. So, you know, that's what it is.
That's where we are.
We're all introed, and now we can chat. That's where we are.
I mean, thank you, quarantine life. That is where we are.
Right.
In the next few minutes, those of you that always skip the chit chat, you're going to want to skip that, but we're chitting and we're chatting.
We're
down
chatting.
to chit and chat. It's what we do.
Yes. I do want to take a time to recognize. I want to recognize Stephanie. I am just so thrilled and happy about the outcome of this week. She's already a mom, but she has officially, by the state, become a mom to your beautiful girl, and I'm so excited. I just cannot get over it. I talk about it all the time. I'm like, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy for Stephanie. It's amazing.
I love her so much. I do that too.
So
I was
much.
having like a little dance party, like on the way back from the lake. We were doing weird shit. And, you know, my parents are going, what are you doing? And I was like, Stephanie just got done dealing with the court system, and you don't know.
And won. Dealing with the system and won. And I'm just so happy.
Thank you so much. It's been 5 years. We've had Delia since she was 13 months old, and she's now 6. And so over 5 years, we've been trying to get the adoption to go through. And finally, as of Tuesday, she is officially adopted. So yes, it's been a very big deal. It's kind of surreal. So thank you guys so much.
I'm glad that everybody knows how to Joe dance with me. That makes me very excited. That's all I've been doing this week for whatever reason. I just wake up in the morning and I'm just like looking at myself in the mirror and I just start going, but then I end up doing Tony Hale's dance, you know, like I end up turning it into a Buster instead of a Joe. I don't know how it happened.
You need to try Dee from the boat episode of It's Always Sunny, where she's doing it like the inflatable.
Oh
yeah.
I love getting my Deandra on.
Right.
Like, you don't have to
Get
tell
your
me
Deandra on.
Get my Sweet D going. Sweet D, handing down life lessons.
That's right.
I've rewatched so much TV, you guys. It is stupid. And that Sunny journey was definitely overdue. I'm so glad I went back down that.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
how I figured out that Mike Pence has the face of making Dennis Reynolds a murderer every night in those briefings. That's exactly what he looks like.
Oh my gosh.
For 4 hours straight.
Yeah. So true.
You know, in my
learned
house,
from
we're trying to watch it, and I'm laughing hysterically, and everybody's going, "What? Like, why are you laughing?" And I was like, "It's making Dennis Reynolds a murderer."
It's so obvious.
It is so obvious.
I never put that together until wow. I can't
I might have
see it.
deleted that tweet because I try to avoid being political on my Twitter. So I might have deleted it. But if I haven't, go and have that fun, y'all. You can look at the side by sides. They're identical.
They are.
That's what was so
Once
creepy
you
about it. I
see
was like,
it-
I gotta find it, and they're identical. Okay, good. I'm glad.
Once
I'm
you
glad to
see
know.
it, it can't be unseen.
Exactly.
Dennis
It cannot be
Reynolds is the
unseen.
vice president. So, God-loving Dennis Reynolds.
Goodness.
I guess the woman hating goes both ways there, though. So.
That's okay. It's all right.
And I just alienated half our listenership, and that.
No, because they usually skip this part. You're okay. It's because they usually skip
that's
this
it.
part.
They skip this part. They go on to the history, and so they're good. Like they're like, I don't want to hear women talk. Ew. Ew.
First. Oh.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure we have a lot of Klan members that tune in every week, Jessica.
They're lined up waiting.
I'm sure we have that demographic. That's all right. They can fuck right off. I don't want that demographic. So.
Bye.
Sorry. Sorry. Maybe that's why Share Me did so well. A group of people thought maybe that's why Share Me did so well. Like a group of fucking racists thought we were going to be pulling for the Germans in that story. You never know. I don't know.
No, we pulled for the pigeon. We pulled for the American pigeon.
The American pigeon.
No.
And its ally, and it came from France, so that's even worse. A pigeon did not eat freedom fries. It ate French fries. And it liked French's mustard.
Sounds like an ass.
That's a joke for people that were alive during the Bush years. So it should be fun to see you get that.
Yep.
Oh my God.
He was not a harmless, retarded cowboy, everybody. Remember that. Remember that. Please remember that.
Definitely not harmless.
I'll never forget.
Loved the torture. Loved invading countries that didn't need invaded. You know.
This thing.
We still do that.
Where empires go to die. And Afghanistan. So I have alienated a lot of listeners at this point. I don't know why. Today I decided to be political. This first drink's hitting me at once, and I'm getting opinionated. Have y'all seen that art history meme? It's like either I think it's Plato, like sitting there striking the pose, and it's like before I start drinking, I'm not gonna get political. One drink in, and it's like,
yeah, exactly. Excuse me, let me get my soapbox, and I'm gonna stand on it, and you're gonna listen what I have to fucking say.
Let me sand it down good on this first drink. Let me sand it down, and then I'm gonna like sit it there like a Selena Meyer, one of those lead-filled ones, so I don't fall through it. Now, if we will remember last time where we left off, we had recapped everything that we had talked about in our previous episodes with Sophia, but we did it from Peter's point of view versus Sophia's point of view. So now Peter is czar. Like, he is just pissing over his kingdom, right? It's all his. He's czaring down, enjoying that absolute monarchy. I mean, just living the life. So,
Straight up,
living his best life. PDTG. First challenge as czar. War, of course, it's Russia. Why wouldn't it be? So Russia had previously agreed to join Poland and Austria in the Holy League, which was a collection of Christian nations that had pledged to fight the Muslim Ottoman Empire. The goal was to capture Constantinople, and good luck with that. Good luck with it. Best of luck to you guys. But that's neither here nor there, because Sophia had waged 2 previous wars against the Ottoman ally, the Crimean Khanate. Now, Peter decides to take the fight directly to the Ottomans, and he attacks the fortress of Azov, which is pretty clever because this particular fortress was blocking Russia's access to the Sea of Azov from Russia's Don River. So Peter may have pledged to fight this as a holy war, right? Like, and that's deep quotes for those of you that are not watching us do this holy war, but he was going to make sure he got his, if you catch my drift. So he's going to fulfill his obligation to Poland, and he's going to fulfill this obligation that he's got for the Holy League, but he's also grabbing at the same time a strategic port, which is not too shabby for your first call out as czar.
Agreed.
Talk about owning it right out the get. Like, you weren't joking when he's pissing all over everything, claiming his territory. He's going to not only claim it, but he's going to show you why. Wow,
Like,
that's smart.
he could have made a law that all peasant women have to wander around tits out, right? And instead, he decides to go for, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to claim a strategic port for Russia in the name of holy war, which I mad respect. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of things wrong with that statement, and good luck, like I said with Constantinople. Good luck.
Yeah. Holy war, those two words don't necessarily go together.
Seem to be contradictory.
Just back to George Bush.
And we're back.
Circled around. And we're back. I wasn't gonna let it. I can't let it die. I don't know why. I just can't let my political opinions die today. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Again, jokes. Joking.
But what's interesting about this is, for the first time ever, the Russian army isn't gonna march its raggedy ass south, which is going to make a big difference. Maybe not at first, but it's going to make a big difference later. You know, normally they show up with fucking like pitchforks and I don't know, tridents. I don't know what they had. I don't know how they looked.
Definitely tridents.
Fish tridents. No, you're right. Interrupt me. That's what we're all thinking. Fish tridents. Like, we got some fishing to do on the way down there. They went by barge. Got some fishing to do. Got some vodka to drink. It's Russia.
How else are they gonna get frozen ice to get to the fish? You know,
Harpoon.
Just keep stabbing the ice. Fish trident. There you go.
Imagine that all Russians float around by barge, pedaling and propelling themselves by harpoon. I feel like they're that hardcore. You never know. You could have to harpoon a fish. You could have to harpoon a bear.
I mean,
another person.
Damn Russia.
I
said to somebody yesterday, I was like, I have got to get out of Russia because I've just gone too far down that rabbit hole recently that I just want to live a Russian life. I just look at people and I'm like, you're going to cut in front of me right now? I am going to go Sophia all over your ass. Right? Exactly.
Pocket trident.
You want to do that right
Pocket
now?
trident.
You're going to do that with me in the Walmart? I'm fixing to go Yvonne the Terrible all over your ass.
Heads rolling.
Literally.
Literally.
Go out to my car and get the fucking vodka. It's on, bitch. Tell me I'm walking the wrong way in the grocery store. You're gonna come at me like that? Okay, that's cute. That's cute. Let me get my trident.
You get my trident.
Get my trident. Come at me like that. Oh, so instead of marching their raggedy asses south, they're gonna go by barge, which Peter had specifically constructed for this purpose on the river. So already Peter's kind of moving and shaking. He's doing something that had never been thought of, and it seems simple to us to move by river down to the, but that was revolutionary at the time. Again, you know, it's not 2020.
He's making money. He's making money moves.
He don't gotta dance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He don't gotta dance. Now they aren't completely exhausted for once by the time they get there. They are moving faster, and the supply chain is actually flying with them. So they're not out marching a supply chain, which is usually what we've seen in Russian wars as being a really big problem. Why nobody figured it out before now, you know.
It took him a while.
Took a while. So Peter served himself. He himself served as the head artillery officer and the chief gunner. Remember, though, he's super into war. Like, that's kind of where he lives and breathes. Now, at first, this seemed kind of like he's just playing a previous version of his war games and mock battles. That is until both of Peter's attempts to storm the fortress are repulsed, and Peter, first time out of the gate, maiden run, is forced to declare a retreat. But this is Peter, right? Like, he's not perturbed. It's not going to get him down. Not going to get him down. He's learned a lesson, which already leaps and bounds ahead of all rest.
Yeah, you're not throwing a tantrum right now and just cutting off heads.
Not killing any sons yet.
Yet.
That's to come. But no, not bashing anybody's brains in with your scepter and throwing a big hissy fit, which is usually how this has gone.
Right.
He's learned his lesson, and he knows that war isn't a game anymore. It's not going out on the lake and like playing war games. He realizes, oh shit, like these are real. I got to be real about this. Yeah, this is very real. He realizes it's just not that easy. So he starts thinking, he starts preparing. So he's got the Russian winter, as always, on his side. And there is no better ally. Like, if the United States could pull Russian winter off, like, I'm telling you.
Winter is coming.
Wolverine here. No Red Dawn here.
Petey, yeah, that's where it comes from. Winter is coming. Oh, God, wouldn't that be amazing if that's what he was just screaming with his trident?
Picture it.
You
I can
know how
picture it.
history hard I would get for that.
Time for some Photoshop, people. Time for some
Photoshop. Like metal AF. He's just out there, like, the Winter's King, just doing that one gif that I love so much.
Winter
a big fur cloak, like billowing out behind him, and he's just
with his curls and everything, and he's just standing there.
Then you hear it. He's just out there doing the D dance, though, instead of I mean, it would be amazing. I'd be like, what the actual...
Winter's coming! Winter's coming!
That's why
we don't know it didn't happen. We don't know it didn't happen.
We can't be sure.
We can't.
I'm going to assume that it is. It's all right.
Yes.
I said he was waiting Tywin Lannister style in the last episode. Now he's gone full Stark with it.
Once a Stark, always a Stark.
George R. Martin can say that this is about the War of the Roses all he wants, but I always maintain it's more about Russian history than it is about anything else. Read it, watch it, do whatever you got to do to get into it, but it's more about Russian history from the time of troubles on. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Oh, God, now I'm not going to be able to get that out of my head because that's 110% what he's doing. So, he's got time. He's got winter is coming, bitches. Like, winter is here. So, he's posted up and he starts building ships. Real ships, not barges. Ships. And he's turning out vessels like left and fucking right. Bro, it is just insane. So, come spring of 1696, Peter is a-rockin' and a-rollin'. Russia has, for the first time in history, its own fleet. Now, it's got exactly cloak billows. Yeah, that's what's happening. He's just doing it. He's doing it out there. That's how he's living his life. Drinking so much vodka, it's stupid, getting pissed in the foreign quarter, building warships. Like, this guy's living my best life. I don't know about y'all, but got two very large warships, 23 oar-powered galleys, and 1,500 smaller vessels. When it comes springtime, are rolling down the dome once more, eyes on the Azov prize. Like, he ain't fucking around this time. All right, I see where we're going now. I'm coming to do it.
Trying to kind of rusty, riding dirty. I didn't say that right, but you know.
Yeah, no, he is.
It was
Like you
fantastic.
said, he don't gotta do it. He's making money moves now. Okay, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. This time he comes by land and by sea. Again, he's getting some of that Paul Revere action in there. There are no lanterns for Peter. You got to light all the lanterns. You got to be there. You got to light bodies. I don't know what you got to do, but he's coming for it. So the fortress.
Right now, like PDTG, is pulling at my heartstrings right now. Like I'm like, hey, can I be Zarina with you, girl?
Or your downtown strings.
Yes, yeah, your downtown
He's
strings.
flossing it. He's flossing it from the inside out.
I'm like, hello. Lost away, Petey. Lost away.
Oh, this is gonna be the worst, best episode ever. I'm
glad you're crying too, Stephanie, because I just
really got me.
Inside blast. So the fortress is besieged. Less than a month, the combined attack forces the Turks to cough up Azov, and Russia won its first ever in history naval victory, defeating an Ottoman fleet that attempted to break the siege. But they weren't ready for that winter is coming shit. They weren't ready for it. They weren't here for it. Peter returns, and he is just like hashtag big deal time. Okay, like, oh, the corks and gines are just flowing left and right in Russia for Peter.
Minority
Can't be
I'm
a bigger deal.
In the street going, take me, Petey, with you. Like, I don't know.
Like
Exactly
David dancing my clothes off in the street, okay? Only it's not for the temple. No, that temple is Peter.
The temple is Peter.
That monolith of a human being. I'm on top of that at this point, okay? So he's just like dripping glory and in poon. He's draped himself in poon, I'm sure. Hail the conquering hero. Moscow and Russia are going crazy for Peter, well, the Great, as he's to be known. So this was all great. This is fantastic. But Peter still needs allies if he's going to have any chance of having another go at the Ottomans, essentially. You if you're going to come at this point, even in 1669 and the following years, if you're going to come at the Ottoman Empire, you best come correct. I mean, you could argue in 1914, you don't want to be messing around with the Ottoman Empire. Trust me, the British will tell you. Now, Peter thinks, I have to hit the continent, right? I need to be rolling Euro deep if I'm going to like go back in there. You gotta roll European style deep if you're gonna have anything. You know, he's gotta roll like Amsterdam style if he's got a shot. So he's gonna need some allies. Period. End of the day. So Peter forms a grand embassy to travel to Europe, and he says, hey, I'm just like gonna go myself, yo. Which he travels incognito and doesn't announce that he's the czar to anyone unless he has to, like in courts when he's doing appearances. Now keep in mind, czars don't do this. Like, it's not a thing. It's like you don't wear white after Labor Day.
They have to be protected. Okay? Right?
Well, not even that, but like you don't wear white after Labor Day. You don't invade Russia midwinter. Like they're just like don't that you do.
There's a list of don'ts, and this is a bunch of them.
And this is the top of them. It's just something that rulers didn't do. Least of all when you're absolute monarchs, like say the czars were.
Well,
so
I guess usually if you think back to all the czars beforehand, he had a lot of people do the work for him, all the traveling, all the deals, all the money. It was very much everybody else did it, and he just sat back
And don't forget, Russia's a backwater to Europe at this time. They don't have time to worry about what's going on in Russia. They think it's, it's still some backwater power. I don't have to worry about it. Why should I listen?
It's probably what people think about Louisiana. Like it's probably just one of those things where people are like the backwaters of Louisiana. People just let them be.
It's south of I-35. It's south of I-35 in Louisiana. Like, that is Russia at this time. It's just south of 35 in Louisiana. Okay, so you don't do this, but if you were a czar and you weren't looking after your kingdom proactively, even at this time in history, historically, you're not going to be czar for very long. We're not that far removed from the time of troubles. We're not that far removed from the early Romanovs. So this is sort of a testament.
Professor, I have a question. Professor Manor, please don't roll your eyes at me. How old is PDTG right now? Like, because I know czars don't live long, so I'm just curious, is he already through half of his life?
This is 16, when? 96?
69. It's shortly after that, so we're looking at 1670.
He was born in 1682.
Okay, so this is 1696. I'm having some, I'm sorry. I'm getting...
So what, 18?
So he's 14.
Oh, I'm not a math. I did not
okay.
math right.
I would not have known that if I didn't have my color-coded notes guiding me along the way.
Oh, the color-coded notes.
Okay, so 14, which is considerably of age, right, technically?
Well, that's a full-grown ass man in Russia in 1696. That's a man.
So he's at least halfway through his life.
Confused. Look at me not having number dyslexia.
That's fine.
He's give or take more than half of his life. That's where we're at in czar years.
Actually,
in Russia,
he's gonna live longer than what you've usually got czars living, including Alexei, which is saying something.
He's one of the smart ones.
He is one of the smart ones.
We've got so much to go down the line of Peter's life, which was unexpectedly long. So that's what makes it fun. But remember, he's like an adult looking, he's a monolith of a human being. The huddled masses want to flock to this one. He's like the Statue of Liberty of people.
Agreed.
Right.
So
the golden statue of the people, like gold, like
exactly.
for real.
But think about that. At 14, he's won a major military victory.
Yes.
Over the Ottoman Empire.
Which is a big hashtag, big deal. Yes.
It's kind of like, I think it's Suleiman the Great in the Ottoman Empire. Like, he was just dominating Constantinople at 26? At 26, if I got off a couch, that was a good day.
Same.
At 14, if I wasn't thinking about boys, also a good
or what I was gonna wear the next day.
Or praying that my boobs were gonna get bigger.
Not about conquering countries. That was not on anywhere near the top of my list at 14.
No, more or less recruiting them to join your alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was interested in recruiting people to join my group, but not allies to destroy, countries and civilizations. take over.
know, and they're
That's
like,
not what I'm doing.
winter is not coming. It just, it was what it was. So this is, again, kind of a testament to the sort of dude that Peter was at this time. No one was in the mood to like try to, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't do this as czar. Maybe you should send ambassadors. Maybe you should do it. Nobody wanted to try it. So that's, again, a testament to this is like 70, a 14, going to be 15-year-old boy, and nobody wants to like try their hand at screwing with him. And it's also a testament to the loyalty of Peter's like critical bros at the time. You know, I can't critical bras. Okay, like he's made a fucking fraternity of critical bros that is just not about breaking. Okay, like they're on it.
Riding in Peter's posse.
Right.
Like that's where they're living at.
Yes, absolutely.
So he leaves his buddy Theodore Romodanovsky in charge of the kingdom to take care of Tsaritsa Yevdokia and his young son and heir, Alexei, named after his father. And there's no precedent for this. The court was absolutely horrified, but no one said anything.
Are they just
afraid? Later,
they can't possibly be afraid of him because he doesn't seem like he would like be mean, but
he could hang you from the walls of the Kremlin if he decides tomorrow he don't like what you're saying.
Yeah, and wasn't he notoriously merciless? Like he would just sadistically slaughter.
Mess around, and we're gonna get to that later. We're gonna get a body count later.
Wow.
We're gonna get a body count later.
The story. I was thinking Peter was like on this pedestal, like I'm here with it. Like, hey Pete, what's up, PDG, PDTG? Listen,
what Russia's like?
Can we have a
momentarily forget that we're in Russia?
I know. My modern times again, I guess. I don't know. I'm like, yo, bro, can we like talk about this? Like,
the difference between him and other people might be that he might hang you or chop your head off versus like, I don't know, torture you to death. But he does get into that later in life.
I thought bro code meant something. That's my thing, is I just thought it meant something. That's all.
What I meant by critical bras is like, this guy is going to rule in Peter's stead faithfully for quite a period of time without trying to usurp the crown. That is what I mean by you don't fuck with Peter. Like, to the point that you're going to give somebody absolute power and nickname them my little czar or my little Caesar, like Caesar Jr., literally giving you a Romanesque power over Russia, and they're not going to try him. So that says something about Peter. Like, you don't want to play that game.
He's literally like the epitome of Mean Girls, but with bras. Like the Mean Girl bra. Like, that's what he is.
Yeah. You're not going to come at Regina while she's not paying attention. You don't want to. You don't want to. And that's kind of where he is with this guy that's taking over. And that's kind of why the court is horrified, because they think, oh, this guy's just going to seize power. Somebody else is just going to seize power, because they're neglecting to understand just how much power our little Peter has already. Like, you don't want to try it. Not a little Peter, though. It's hard and
heavy Peter. Let's not forget what kind of Peter he is.
Slinging it all around town.
On the rafters, just. Oh.
Just Russian Empire all over the place.
He's fishing. He is fishing out in the deep lake, man. He is flinging it.
Yes, he's flinging it out there and he's bringing it back, landing like a Sturgis every time. He's just reeling it in. Yeah, you don't have to mess with it. God, I gotta take a drink.
Real and pull.
He's fly fishing. He's deep sea fishing. He's bringing in those barracudas, if you will.
He's got that trident, man. Might as well get that deep sea.
Right?
Harpooning. Mahi, like just by the stroke, okay?
Wow.
Like,
where's we got a number on us.
being those massive swordfish.
Oh my God, that was really funny.
Like I said, court's horrified. Nobody's going to say anything, though, again, because they don't want to try Peter. You don't want to do it because he's going to come at you. He don't got to dance. He makes money moves. That is the thing that we got to take away from. He is the Cardi B of czars at this point. So Andrei Nartov says it best in his memoirs years later when writing of Peter. Whoever heard or read of a ruler who, having taken the throne, left behind his crown and scepter, entrusted rule to one of his nobles, and left to wander through strange lands. It was completely unheard of that this is what happened in Russia. I mean, it was enough to make a fairly famous gentleman at the time, memoirs years later, talking about Peter proactively. It was beyond the scope of what anybody could imagine, more or less, that you'd have the power to keep said noble completely and totally in your thrall. That is the kind of almost the ambiance, the czar ambiance that he exuded.
It just makes me really think, like, this is actually an incredibly educationally smart move on Peter's part. Personally, this is my opinion. I'm thinking usually a czar is kept behind closed doors and cut off from everything. And he's like, all right, we've got this in order. I've got this dealt with. Let me go find out what's going on out there. And to me, I just feel like, I feel like it's a smart. It's my opinion. I don't know what's happening next. I don't know if this is the right move, but to me, it makes sense. Like, it does. It makes sense where I'm like, okay, cool. Learn more about everything else, bring it back, and then let's go forward. I just my favorite.
Establishes and kind of outlines the fact that he's not been traditionally educated. He hasn't grown up in the court, and he's going to try something different. And it does and does not work out to his favor, as we're going to kind of see here. So I might be paraphrasing that Nartov quote rather heavily. By the way, just for everyone, I'm not completely sure. Russian, as we all know, I fucking struggle with. It's not like I'm just reading the Bonn archives and hammering it out in Germany, okay? Like,
page 675, published in 1945.
Russian's so far from a language that I speak. Like, and again, I have to give a heads up to Paul, because I love that he sent me this linguistics family of the world's lecture. He was like, maybe you should listen to this. And I'm like, what you really mean is I should definitely listen to the sections devoted to Eastern European and Slavic languages. And I appreciate that. Because I promise you, Romanovsky is not how you say that. But you go with it.
Who would have thought?
Who knew? So the point is, Peter is not a traditionalist. That is what we're looking at when it comes to approaching the idea of czar. And as we go forward, we should know that there are no precedents for him. You know, there's a precedent for Alexei that was set by Mikhail, and there is a precedent for Mikhail that were set by the Rurikid, and Peter just throws it all the hell out the window. He's just like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm a Peter Alexievich, and I don't have to care. Exactly. Like, because
Oh my God, that's just what I can imagine.
there's no argument over the fact anymore. Like, the Romanovs are definitely the dominant family of Russia. And I think this is where you earmark it and where you really start to look at it, that these are the Romanovs. These are who our ruling family is, our body of people that we're going to draw from. And Peter takes great advantage of this. So Peter goes. And he gets to see once and for all the world that he has always read about and dreamed about. So he got to see the Europe that so fascinated him, if you will. Now, he could care less about the music or art. Quite frankly, it was never his wheelhouse, and it bored him. He was like, oh, great, wonderful art. Oh, the Renaissance happened. I don't give a flying fuck. Like,
I live and breathe for that. That's where I would go back to just for that.
He's walking through and hand tossing Leonardo. You know, he doesn't care. That's not his cup of tea. But the
He's gone down in hot meter for me. I'm sorry, but he has stepped down on hot meter.
He's about to climb on up it. Okay, so like, ride the ride with me. Ride the ride with me.
Oh, he's taking me for a ride. Trust me. I've been on the PDTG roller coaster of fun.
You're going a lot of rides with Peter. Let me tell you, like, you're gonna ride it till she busts you. But the science, technology, and industry that resulted from the Renaissance and what he sees now in 1696 and the scientific advancements that had occurred even in and of that time, he's going to be very into. So yeah, he might not care about art, but he can't get enough of this stuff, guys. Like, he had to try and learn everything that there was by himself. I mean, he was into everything. For example, Peter Mikhailov, which was his alias, that's what he traveled under, is Peter Mikhailov. He took, grandfather's name, added to his own. He's not wandering around as Tsar Peter. He's wandering around as some random Russian dude. He got a job as a carpenter in a shipyard to learn how the Dutch built ships. And in England, he haunted the docks like some kind of gangly ghost to learn the same of what the English were doing.
I'm sorry. All I can think of is, like, that one weird kid that's just like lingering, just always there.
Definitely Peter.
What's you guys doing? What you guys talking about? What's he saying? What's she saying? I don't know.
You hear about that? You hear about
Lurking.
What about me? No. That's what he was.
Oh. I think it's really hot that he was that dedicated,
He's going undercover. Like, technically, he's doing undercover work. Like,
he's just
spy right now.
Around. Yeah. No, he's rolling around like usual, normal dude Peter. Like, he was the everyman's man, and he just wants to get in there and learn how everything's done so that he can do it. It's not somebody that he's sent to learn to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to take it home. He's going to build these warships. Exactly. Which,
educationally, good move. Good move.
No matter how we feel about him, by the time that this is all said and done, and there will be mixed feelings. It's Russia. There's always going to be mixed feelings. You still have to credit this kind of like almost get up and go bootstrap spirit. He doesn't want other people to find the answer for him. He's going out and finding the answer, and he's crafting these things, and he's doing this thing, which is impressive. But people didn't know what the hell to kind of make of this guy. It's this weird Russian who's running to and fro, right? And just touching everything. I don't know, like lifting it, seeing how it's made. Oh,
I desire, but not really.
Yeah, what if this tar you're using to put your boats together? Oh, I want to taste it. Oh, I want to smell it. Oh, I want to lick it. Like, oh, you got pines all over your body. Let me lick your face. That's kind of where he's at. Like,
Body shots. Let's go. I mean,
that's what he's doing, which is just everybody's like, whoa, dude, like, take it down a notch. But he's like, no, I'm going to take it up. I'm going to fire it up. I'm going to fire it up 10 notches to the 11. The 11 setting. I don't know where y'all fools are living, but this is where I am. Oh, by the way, I'm the czar. Nice to meet you.
so either do it or I kill you. By the way,
so, you know, do what you feel, but also death hangs in the balance. So do what you do.
Off with your head. No, just
you know, whatever I feel. He's like that awful kid at the grocery store, if you will, that's kind of like into everything. He's curious about where it all, like, there was, you know, one of those kids that you want to slap in the grocery store.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
That's that kid I'm coming at in the grocery store. That's the one. That's the one that makes me want to go and get my vodka and play Rourke in Russia.
In your pocket trident.
Yeah, get my trident, get my harpoon, go in there and smash a bottle of vodka and come out of it. Like, that is the
why one more
time. Come at me. Come at me. Look how good look how well this small bottle of Tito's has made a fucking effect. So he wanted to know everything from, like, how whales were hunted, how doctors treated patients in each country, and things like, how do you even make paper? How do you guys make paper? It's unbridled curiosity, which are all things that he's going to bring back to Russia, which again are pretty impressive. So he's always also out trying to talk to these doctors, like everybody from a paper maker to a whale hunter to a doctor to like a basic scientist in the 1700s form. So he's trying to persuade all these specialists to move to Russia and work and teach about what they do, about everything that they've got going on. And I'm not going to say he's persuaded a fair few. We know that he was an advocate of the foreign quarter. We know that this was an advocate of something he was very, very into. And so he's going to put them in their universities. He's going to put them in where they're going to be, you know, like techs at this tech universities, as we call them, where you go and you learn a skill. So he puts people that are going to be from Europe that have the best techniques, the latest everything. He definitely encompasses all of it.
Got the dream team.
He may not have done a lot for art and music. I'm gonna say that, but he did a lot for scientific advancement within Russia, and that is what Russia needed at the time. They needed to catch up. They needed to be ahead of the game. They needed to be on that European arc of technology, like that technological scale. And he definitely did a lot to bring that forward and to make that a thing. So I do admire that. Let me tell you, there are going to be things later on you don't admire. But for now, admire away. But as far as allies for the war against the Turks, no. Europe kind of had its own shit to deal with, as they were getting into their own wars to settle the issue of Spanish succession. And this is where I went down the rabbit hole when I was researching this, you guys. This is why, like, you lost me for weeks, because I went down that hole, which was nothing to do with Peter. And then I went down an Ottoman Empire hole, which was also nothing to do with Peter.
Oh no! You visited the deep dark web with non-Peter related issues.
Exactly. I went to the historical version of a lime green website with yellow writing. Let me put it that way.
Was it like LiveJournal or a MySpace like screenshot? Remember how you could do that? I don't know if you're old enough.
Yeah, it's almost like that. No, we're definitely old enough for that.
Those were the days.
Tom was our friend, okay? Tom was our friend.
Oh, Tom.
He was on my top friend list all the time.
But
you couldn't get him off your top favorite friends. It's like,
he
dude.
was always there. Good Tom. Tom was a true friend. He never let you down.
Tom was a real bitch. Okay? Like Tom trying to fucking put yourself forward like you're Zuckerberg. Oh, Tom, you needy bitch.
You know what? Let's do a shout out to Tom.
Yes.
What up, Tom?
What up, Tom from MySpace?
You Tom from MySpace.
Cheers.
I'm sure a multi-billionaire. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you and good night.
He's Mrs. Maisel. Thank you and good night. Okay? Like,
right.
He's the Mrs. Maisel of fucking social media. Good for you, Tom. Good for you, buddy.
Okay.
Of the 90s, early 2000s. That was it.
So I heard you say at first, I thought you said Mrs. Mingle, and I was like, no, she said Mrs. Maisel. What is it? I was like, Mrs. Mingle?
Mrs. Maisel.
Not a show I haven't heard about, or like...
And
no, it's one I've binge watched 1,000 times. Yeah, it definitely, it's on my binge watch list.
And I'm a psychopath, so the first thing I thought of was Dr. Mengele, from the Holocaust, and Joseph Mengele, and I was like, is that his wife? That's where my brain went. First thing. Second thing, Mrs. Maisel. First thing, Mengele.
Mengele. Why wouldn't you think Joseph Mengele?
I mean, it makes logical sense.
Yes, perfect.
I mean, who's not pulling out twins' eyeballs and like comparing them to the other and injecting them with whatever?
Oh, good old Joseph.
Fair.
It actually would have made more sense to what we were talking about, actually, if you say it.
Joseph Mengele is something that I mentioned quite a lot on this podcast. My favorite new game, guys, by the way, just really quickly, I'm sorry all you skippers can skip this, but you know how, and I don't do this to my own child, but I love doing it to other people. Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? I like to ask really inappropriate questions, like, why are all the bees dying? Like, why are the polar ice caps melting? Oh, well, that's interesting. Why is the sky blue? Why did somebody gave me this one the other day, and I'm totally stealing it. Why did Eichmann kill, all those people in concentration camps?
Oh my God! Jessica!
Stop them. Stop them.
It will stop them. Dead in their tracks.
If not, they're going to learn something about World War II.
Like, Mommy, I have a question.
Oh God, that's really funny.
Start asking about history.
That's what I did. Why are the bees dying?
Why did Genghis Khan kill millions of people?
Right? Why did Genghis Khan build a temple of heads?
Can you answer that question?
Can you?
Back to that kid in the grocery store. I'm going to break that bottle on you. And you'll know
Why did the Tsar do what he did? Answer.
why
Or-
did the Bog the Terrible think that loyalty was displayed by broomsticks and dead dog heads? I don't know. No more than I know why the sky is blue. I actually do know why the sky is blue, but I don't have time to answer it, so I'm going to answer it.
That one you will have an answer to. I can tell you right now.
I don't know. I think it might be female colorblind. I have problems with blues and greens. Why are you getting in my face, kid? I'm already over you.
In my face. Back the fuck up.
So as we're going through this, we're looking at War of Spanish Succession. You know, it's going on in Europe. Russia to Europe is still too far away. The Ottomans weren't knocking on their door at this time. Like, let's say you're England. The Ottomans are not your greatest concern, if you will. So that being said, at this point, Russia's still, like we talked about earlier, very much a backwater for Europe. So it's kind of the conversation is going, you know, it's nice to see you. We're, you know, not like we're still doing stuff, Peter. Okay, like we still got a whole Europe that we're trying to do here. Like, go have your own war, bro. We're gonna have ours.
Yeah, you do you, boo boo. You do you.
You do you. But this isn't exactly our war. It's your war. It's your problem. Because the Ottoman Empire hadn't penetrated necessarily that deeply. You had the removal of the Moors and that influence from, you know, Northern Africa that's not exactly knocking on the door in this War of Spanish Succession. It is and it isn't. So they don't necessarily, they're not that preoccupied with the Ottoman Empire. But in Poland, Peter meets Augustus, king of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Elector of Saxony. So there's some dick measuring and some pissing contests that go on between these two.
I'm bigger than you were.
Plate bending stories that go on with this. I'm not going to cover that.
The bigger sword. I mean,
yeah, like I'm the bigger sword
faster.
you know.
It's got the bigger pocket trident.
The pocket trident.
Exactly. I'm the bigger member, you know, like this.
My trident is 6 feet, while yours is only 5.
It is what it is. So they've got this going on, and they have a good laugh, though. They very much get along, and Augustus agrees to help Peter go ahead and fight his northern rival, which is Sweden. So this gave Russia access to, if you take on Sweden and you win, this gives Russia access to the Baltics and a sea route to Europe. And this is just as Peter's starting to roll, like the thing that Peter feared most starts to happen. So we've got this, yes, I'm going to help you against the Swedes. Yes, I'm down to do this. But right as this is going on, these talks are going on, the Streltsy revolt once more.
Oh, no.
We got some domestic unrest. Like, this is what I was telling somebody last night on Twitter. You know, you just got to take the foreign wars as you see them, but then when it comes back to those domestic wars, Russia gets real, Russia gets fun. So now we've got a Streltsy revolt. Now, in 1698, Sophia has been stirring shit from her monastery prison, right? And again, go catch our early Romanovs part 4 if you want to know about Sophia. Again, a very bad bitch. Go enjoy it. Go listen to it.
One of my favorites. She's my favorite bitch. History. I mean, I didn't know I had a favorite until I met Sophia. I'm kind of I looked her up. Like, she's not like, your average, like, your queen where you would picture like she's not that pretty looking. I'm not gonna lie. At least the historical pictures. But you know what? Her personality and her badassery makes me be like, she my girl.
That crown right on top of her head. So she has been all this time. She's been in this monastery. She's been stirring shit from nobles, boyars, and the Streltsy. And
she's getting things done. I mean, hello.
She gets the Streltsy all fired up again from her prison, right? And they want to restore Sophia, yes, but they also want to oust Peter because they believe that the beloved Tsar has been corrupted by foreign influence. And you can't deny that Peter puts a lot of trust, influence, a lot of things into the foreign quarter as well as foreign influence outside. So,
which makes
we know from the period of previous history that is something that the Russian people kind of frown upon because they're not Eastern Orthodox,
right.
and
as to why he went out and he did all of that, how he toured or not toured, how he pretended to be, somebody else, a commoner or whatever, and because he was a foreigner and did all that stuff, he brought it back. So of course it makes sense. People don't like change, especially foreign change.
People don't like change, and there's also, like we talked about in our early episodes, there's the melding of that idea that once you take over Eastern Orthodoxy, that's what gives you the power of old Eastern Rome. So if you're not hugging constantly the Orthodox faith, you may be letting go of the power that was Eastern Rome at their fall of due to the Ottoman Empire. So it kind of all plugs back into itself, everything that everybody's looking at and doing kind of here. So the Streltsy wanted to march on Moscow and keep out the Tsar, keep Peter out, and kill all the foreigners for not being Eastern Orthodox. And quite frankly, that's the normal course of fucking events in Russia. Like, that's how it's very much gone up until this point.
It's the repeating cycle.
We're just repeating the cycle that we, rinse, wash, repeat that we've been going through. But they don't count on Peter. Peter, 8 kinds of pissed off, travels 300 miles in 4 weeks just to go and crush these fools. But if you'll remember his buddy, Theodore Ramadanovsky, that he left in charge,
yes.
He's just like kicking it and laughing because he crushes the rebellion himself post-haste. Like, no time spent, they try to rise up, they come to Moscow, and he's like, oh, I'm not having this for my bro Peter. But he's not having this for an in Peter's name, and so he just crushes the rebellion all himself, right? But Peter didn't put all his previous plans on hold and travel that far to not enjoy some good old-fashioned Russian bloodletting. Okay, I did not come the fuck up here and lose my goddamn temper and get all worried about you mofos to not come crush some souls. All right?
I mean, a lot about somebody when they go, 300 miles in 4 weeks? That's a long time to hold on to something. Because if you think about it, think about like maybe even halfway in, be like, you know what, I'm halfway there. Am I really that mad? Do I keep going or do I turn around? Like, am I that mad? He had to have been that mad. He not only keep going, crush them, and then more. Like, that's some serious anger. So
it's time to start making a point in Russia. Oh my God, we are back to our basic bitch Saturday night in Russia, y'all. Like I'm so disgusted by myself
real quick.
I'm excited by this because I'm like, oh, we're about to get Russian, y'all. Like, oh.
We've been turned away from Russia a while now, and it's time to just take a complete 180 and just go full force. Like
let's go back.
Yeah,
let's
side
go
of Peter
back.
That
Yeah, exactly. It's time to go back.
Games, those war games, it ain't no more.
Exactly. It's time to get our party on execution style because Ramadanovsky had executed 130 Streltsy and he had flogged and exiled like 150, right? Not even close to good enough for Peter. He's come a long way in a bad fucking temper, y'all. And he's like me in the grocery store. It's time to start smashing Tito's and getting real. Like he is about to get real. So there are a lot of miles, to really nurse your hate of these traitors. And boy, does he. Because Peter gets real inquisition-y, and wants more interrogations and more torture, some of which he attends personally. He's there to see a show, okay? Like, and I can't blame you. I want to go to see
Broadway show.
I want burlesque. He wants Hamilton, okay? So he's going to the Hamilton of death. Like he is there to see it. So there we go. Really starting to feel like Moscow again, you guys. Oh, we're back in Moscow. And I shouldn't be excited for this, but I very much am. So
it's not dull. I mean, weirdly enough, it has been dull. Like there hasn't been a whole lot of slicing and dicing. So I feel weird saying that I've become bored, but I have. I'm ready to get some slice and dice in my life.
Slice and dice back in your life. That's amazing.
We're back in Russia. We are back in Russia. Because just in time, too, for public mass executions, Peter arranged with 800 Streltsy to be beheaded in the Red Square, like one right after another. And you don't want to be that last guy, right? Like you don't want to be the last guy. You want to be the first guy. You want that act sharp. You want to not have to think about it. Like, if you're 799, 800, that's a bad number to be at. That's a bad ticket to have. Also, which, yay, now we're back to Russia. Now it's Russia on a Saturday night, while hundreds more are simultaneously being hanged from the walls of the Kremlin. You want to be on that beheaded train. Never mind. You want to be number 800 because you don't want to be number hanged from the walls of the Kremlin. Like you don't want to be there.
Death door number 1. Death door number 2. Woo! I just found you get this death.
Yeah, we're right back to what I call good old-fashioned Russian decorating. Like just hanging the bodies from the walls. And, if you put them thick enough side by side, you've got curtains for months. You don't have to worry about it.
Curtains.
Darkening curtains.
Oh, yeah. Get some good sleep.
Yeah.
Blackout curtains.
He's gonna sleep like a baby in this blackout curtain. Yeah.
The smell might be an obstacle, but you can always put some oil underneath your nose, go to sleep, spritz. Fine.
Absolutely. Like, he's living that life. He's living that life. He's sleeping in till 10, 11 every day. Doesn't even know it's daybreak. I mean,
open up the skin.
On point decorated. Just, pull those palace windows open, move the curtain aside. I'm sure somebody rammed a nail in the wall that he can just put the body.
You can put it, the curtain hanger holder things,
Shutters were not invented in this empire for thousands of years, because why? You've got bodies.
Now you can't go underneath them to the balcony because they'd be dripping, all kind of fluids and flesh.
You don't want that.
System for that.
Yes.
You don't want that. But what a sheen it puts on your outside wall. Mm-hmm. You don't ever have to refinish the brick.
Ever.
Oh my god!
I'm trying so hard not to spit on myself watching you two.
I'm fucking crying right now.
Oh god, I just snorted again. Oh.
And this is why refinishing your siding is for pussies. You could just do it Russian style.
Just hang your enemies from your gutters and let them do the refinishing.
Where is
outsourcing, motherfuckers?
TV? Like, where is that? Where is that?
They do all the hard work for you.
Pussies.
I can't breathe. Like,
sorry. Did you think the red square got red by itself?
No.
Oh gosh. That was amazing.
That's what it is.
Full lifetime decorating.
Peter got in on the fun, guys. Peter got in on this fun. He headed 5 himself. He was like, you know what? I think you're doing a shitty job. I want to lop off a few heads myself. All right? Like,
watch me.
You know what? I'm adding you to the back of the list because your fervor for head chopping has definitely waned by noon, sir, and I'm over it. I'm not about it. Like,
I grew tired of it, like, a long time.
Try to plan a mass execution, and then sometimes, like, the people you hire just don't deliver.
You can't find good help. You can't find good help these days.
No, you can't. Not these days, not in 2020, not in 1690s, like, what are you going to do?
Same thing.
It's 1670. You can't be dicking around, all right? Like, we're all modern.
I can't do it. I'm old. I can't lift it. It's just the same old thing.
I love that character that you just did.
Moreover, I love that character too. Moreover, he gathered everyone together that he could find in the surrounding landscape and in Moscow themselves to witness the bloodbath. So, again, basic bitch Russian Saturday, Friday night. Like, people were dropping Molly at that. Like,
If it wasn't posted on social media, it never happened. So
That's right.
You gotta have witnesses. If it wasn't posted on the scroll, it didn't happen.
If it wasn't packed up in front of bars, it didn't happen in 1670. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you use the power of the sun to look at that. Like, imagine that black light party though. If you just sprayed luminol, like, just car dump luminol on that place, like digga-digga-day.
Right?
Oh, people would be
hours.
tripping so hard. That's just what I assume they do these days. I'm kidding. But not really. But not really. So, 2,000 additional Streltsy were executed in total. So 800 are beheaded. That's how many hanged. And then 800 more that day were publicly flogged and exiled to Siberia. So more shit changes, the more it stays the same in Moscow, guys.
Again, I still am opting for guy number 800 in the beheading. Like at this point, the further I get, I'm like, I will take number 800 of the beheading. Like,
oh, I'm taking it for 2001. I want to be 2001. You know what? I'm tired of hanging people. We're worn out. Like the walls are draped. What the hell are we gonna do? You know what? Go live your life, bro.
you
Go
do
live your life. Critical bra for life. Number 2001. He's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So Peter didn't forget his sweet sister by any means either, because remember, this is all like sweet sister's fucking program that she's been running here. Peter forced Sophia to take the veil under the name Susanna, hunted out, tortured, and exiled every boyar or noble who was even rumored to have supported her. Cut her allowance, changed her servants, put her under 24-hour security, and as a parting gift, ordered 3 of the Streltsy hung at her monastery, which were to remain outside her window for 5 months.
Yeah. Talk about the stench.
But I promise, the next time that bitch thinks about starting a fucking like coup,
I'll be like the instant smell of on her nose.
like she has dealt with her enemies, or he has dealt with his enemies like British Empire style. There, good luck. Think twice before you start another one of those uprisings. Like,
Right?
remember the 5th of November. The gunpowder, treason, and blot. Like, that's like full on. He went like Guy fucking Fawkes with it. He's got the mask. He's got the bros hanging outside her window. She's gonna think twice, 3 times, 4 times even.
I think a lot of times I wouldn't think at all.
Well, I mean, that's really good for us though, guys, because it was starting to feel like Russia was a little bit too tame. And as far as I'm concerned, like, we're back on track and focused at this point. Like, oh, yes, we're back in Russia. We're doing shit. Russian business as usual. Like, people are dying by the thousands.
I mean, I really was. I was like, yeah. I really was. I was like, yeah, what happened to Russia? Like, I'm kind of bored. I've never even been able to say that in my own lifetime, that Russia is boring. Like, how is this possible in history at some point?
We're back on track, and we're focused, and people are dying by the thousands.
Mass murder. Here we go. We never lost it. Remember that.
Exactly. We're like divine and shit from Blood and Guts. We're back in Russia.
I'm now feeling bad ever having my doubts. Going, did they lose their way? No, they were just laying under the radar until it was ready to ramp it back up. Like,
taking their time. They were taking their time. There needed to be a pause. You know, sister needed to get those blackout curtains so she could really look at those bodies. And I'm sure they were personal people to her. I doubt that Peter, like, missed that inside track. Right. I really do.
these had to be like not only insider spies, but like friends, long-term mates, like probably even lovers at one point. Like, honestly.
110%. I don't mean to smile. But at the
You
same
smile.
time, I'm so
Sheepishly
glad we're
lover.
back in Russia, guys. Like, it feels Russian for me. I don't
It
mean
does
to
feel
smile.
right being back in this moment. It didn't feel quite right back then, but now I feel right at Russia, right at home in
We
Russia.
were making too much progress. We had stopped. I mean, this is body count. We kind of do when people die, and I don't mean to smile. And I'm smiling. If you're just listening and you're not going to be watching this, the smile on my face, like the Joker couldn't achieve it. I'm so happy to be back in Russia.
You just bitch slap us with a bunch of bodies. Like, it was just like, and 800. 1,000, 2,000, more.
I love Russia, man. Why I love Russia. You know, earlier in our war and our bodies, I mean, who knows how many died when we had to retreat. But now we have an exact, like, really get in there, really paint the red square with it, vodka soaked Moscow party. It's like, this is my dream. This is how I want to go to Moscow. I'm like, oh, the art. Who am I kidding? Like, I want to be like right there for this shit. Woo!
You went there, Jessica. You went there with what tickles your and flosses you down there.
I call it the Putin floss. The Putin floss.
I'm putting that on.
36 for life, bro. But this sort of kind of shook Peter to his core because, you know, this is why he's already a shaky kid, because he has all these problems with the Streltsy. And so he decides to make some fun changes. Oh dear. Peter plunders all Streltsy property, and even the 16 regiments of Streltsy that didn't have anything to do with it were permanently disbanded. Which I do get, because there's always that living threat that exists there. But then Peter, like, kind of goes full out. He's not playing anybody's game anymore. He forces his poor, unloved wife, Eudoxia, to become a nun and entrusts his son and heir Alexei to his sister Natalia. He then just, I guess, says fuck it and starts to live openly with his lover and a month. Like, he's like, oh, I got a name. I'm gonna live with my lover.
Are we in the 1670s, or are we in the 16? Where are we at again in this?
Well, we're up to the
1690s, late.
Oh, okay. I was trying to relate it to the 1970s.
We're late 1690s, early 1670s, if we're
I'm
anywhere.
just trying to make it relatable.
I'm sorry. We can't be in the 1670s because he wasn't born until 1682.
I'm sorry. I forgot. I just was wanting that time. I just wanted it to line up. Okay.
The worst.
He's in the 1690s, moving up to the 1700s. It's like 1700, bitch. You can party like a rock star.
Okay. Like
This is why I tell people all the time, I'm bad with dates. I am terrible with dates. This is not what I do in history. I weave you a narrative. I'm bad at fucking dates.
And that's the only thing I'm good at in history. Like, dates burn into my brain. So it is
a great duo, and I'm just a retard, and over here just saying random stuff.
When I talk about the American Revolution, I'm like, sure, it was the 1770s. Like, sure, why not?
Why not? Sure, we'll go with that time frame.
I'll weave you a web of the story, and then I'm like, Yeah, sure.
That's not right.
Timeline doesn't match up
here. The articles. I think that's when the articles were ratified. Sure, that's when we had a constitution. You betcha. But let's talk about the Constitution. Let me run that down for you. You know, like I'm that asshole.
No, that's more important.
Terrible.
The narrative is far more important than the dates. I'm that asshole. I'm the date asshole.
You should probably do both.
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, yes. But
your brain only has room for one or the other. So one picks one. When you find your soulmate like you and Jessica and us, we come together, we piece it together and it works.
I got the dates, you got the narrative, you got the commentary. It's amazing.
Y'all, I'm at that place. I apologize. I'm at that place because I don't know what year it is. I'm just telling a story. So
1690, late. Sorry.
No, it's late 1690s, early 1700s at best. The last time I checked in, and that's also my fault, was like 1696. But that's what I mean. Like, I'm not a dates person. I'm not a dates person. So he's like living openly with his lover, like we said, his lover. He's living with her. So the court is very shocked by Peter's actions, but you know, Peter, czar.
He don't give a fuck.
He don't give a fuck. But who he gonna be? Honestly, I'm telling you, this motherfucker is like the Cardi B. Sorry.
He making money moves. You don't gotta dance.
True.
You don't gotta dance. All right. These be bloody shoes at this point, literally.
He don't gotta fight. He be killing her.
Zero fucks given by Peter at this point about what you gotta say and what you're gonna do. He's living that Cardi B life, okay? So then he starts like to make it compulsory for all nobles and townsfolk to shave their beards off.
Beard tax!
Wear like, yeah, it is. And wear like European style clothing.
Did you just say beard tax?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
I'm getting to it. So, you know, if you were a peasant, an Orthodox priest, or a massive, like if you were a nobleman with the equivalent of $100,000 today, beard tax, you were allowed to keep your beard. So peasants could keep their beard at a tax of about what would be $5,000 USD today. The beard tax on nobles today would be the equivalent of about $100,000 USD.
We don't even make that. We don't even make that.
You had to pay like massive amounts of money if you wanted to still be, because the beard was very much a part of that Orthodox tradition. It was the sign of manhood. In a way, it's something that kind of, they don't necessarily know it, leaked over from the Ottoman Empire. It was a tradition that being that bearded man, it was very much a style of Eastern Orthodox. Ottoman Empire, it was a sign that you were a man if you had that massive beard, but it wasn't the European style.
Okay.
So you went to England and you're not going to see a young man with a beard. That doesn't mean like manliness. You know, everybody's not growing that ZZ Top life to feel like they had a big dick, okay? But they were very much doing that in Russia and very much doing that necessarily in the Ottoman Empire. It was a sign of like manliness, manhood. It's something that was kind of this Eastern tradition. And so now they had to shave it all off because Peter is devoted at this point in time to history. It's going to be all European custom all the time from here on out. And this is Russia really starts to call itself a European culture, and it continues from here on out. So if you're a woman, you're wearing European dresses, which is going to be a big change from necessarily like, remember at this time, Russian society is very austere. So they're covered from head to foot. Now you're going to have these low cut, dresses of the style of France that's going to be, so it's all titty all the time. Like, you're going to corset top those titties. Hard. And
use them, girl. Use them. Own it.
Own it. Let them titties live. Let those sweater puppies hunt. Okay. Like,
sweater puppies.
Love it.
I'm glad. I'm really just veering off course here. So that's mentioned so far out of fucking Russian history at this point. I'm getting drinky. That being said, also everyone had to learn to dance and make polite conversation, which I'm sorry, like, what passed for conversation before this? Do y'all get I mean, it obviously wasn't like the weather. If that's a rule of polite conversation, it was probably like, did you catch that sweet execution last week? Like, you know what I'm saying?
God, I totally put my servant down because I didn't want to get blamed. What about you?
Also, she spilled I don't know, vodka on me, and I wasn't about that. I'm not about that life, and I'm over her.
Did you see Olivia over there? She put olives in her glass. Like, what is that about? Is that even a thing?
Oh, it's so European.
Yvonne is such a dick. I am reporting him to the beer police immediately. Fuck that dude. Don't cross me.
Exactly.
Don't cross me.
How dare you put breeds down in your home? It's all stone all the time now.
That's right.
You are so basic. Yeah. I really wanted to know what passed for conversation before it was like European polite conversation. And I got to be about whatever that conversation topic was.
Maybe it's like about the titties. Like Igor's like, hey, yo, do you see these new dresses that these girls are having to wear? These ladies? Yeah. I don't know. That's as far as I get.
Check out Ivanka's tits on that last press conference.
I saw it. You can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
See those pearl sandals she comes out with this spring, yo.
I think we've tapped in to small talk back in the day.
I keep coming back to it. That's my problem. I really, God, we're losing so many viewers and listeners. I don't even care because I didn't want to anyway. So the court, like I said, all Europe, all the time, we had changed our style of conversation. Now, courtiers were required to brush their teeth.
Thank God. Like, for real. Thank God. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, it was very much a thing. They had to drink coffee, which was very much of the fashion in Europe. So no more tea, no more of that bullshit. Like, you British motherfuckers can go suck it. No more tea. Coffee time. Coffee. See where it's at. Right?
How much has changed?
Happy.
You know what? We're just now bringing that back from South America. We're going Spanish style, okay? You know what? Why don't you smoke some fucking tobacco too? you fucking nonces, okay? Like you sex pets, drinking your tea, not smoking tobacco. And so Russian food is out. And like Dutch dishes are very much in. So now they're not even serving Russian, and nobody's eating. I think borscht is probably more Polish than it is Russian, but I'm gonna say borscht. Nobody's eating borscht every night. Like, you can suck it. Like, finger guns to you, bro. It's Dutch dishes, all right? We're going to get some pastries up in this bitch.
Let's get with the program.
It is kolache time, okay? One and done. I'm not having it anymore.
Yeah.
So the theme was very much in the court, just more European. And when you control things as mundane as people's daily habits, you control people themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very much an idea and a style that you see very much later in Louis XIV and the court at Versailles, but it's the same idea that if you can control people's daily habits, you control the people themselves, especially your court. So that in and of itself, Peter kind of wallpapered himself against another uprising like that. And I have to say, I thought that was pretty clever, that if you start with that day-to-day life control, then your nobles and your boyars aren't trying to take in maybe the ideas of Sophia. They're not listening to that kind of stuff. They're more caught up in trying to chase, keeping up with the Joneses type thing, where you're the most important person in the court. And I thought that was an interesting change by Peter, because he fundamentally understood that, whereas a lot of rulers in and out of Russia, but in and out of Europe also, may have neglected to understand. And I think that's kind of where you see this precursor to when you're looking at Louis XIV, that you see, oh, that's the idea. Oh, if I change your everyday life and control that, you're mine forever. It's very cult mentality, but I would argue there is no bigger cult leader than an absolute monarch. So it's clever. It's very clever. I gotta hand it to it,
And people don't even realize that they're it's happened. They don't even realize whatever is happening. And they just look up,
you're always chasing the czar's lifestyle.
Yeah, so, bowing down and all of that, and just saying, okay, whatever you say is right. Apparently it's right, and you start to brainwash your own people.
And you've given them something proactive to fight about that has nothing to do with policy and procedure within the kingdom itself. So I have to give it to him. It was very, very clever. He's going Heaven's Gate with it, which good for you. I mean, without the dick chopping and without the everything else that goes with it,
He did it without all of that extra flair.
I mean, maybe he might have gone Charlie Manson style, like Tex Watson. I'm sure there were plenty of pregnant murders. I don't know, but he did go full, and I have to, it's clever. I don't necessarily love it as somebody that lives in a republic, but that being said, it worked for the time, and it very much worked for his court, and it's going to work to Peter's advantage. So Peter also changed the calendar to date before and after the birth of Christ, like the rest of Europe. So instead of measuring from the date of creation, the new year was made January the 1st versus September the 1st. Everyone had to celebrate. So again, this is what you see now. You literally control fucking time. You're like Paul Atreides from Dune, all right? You've gone quick that Hatterack on everybody's asses.
Nature and Santa Claus all in one. You literally have become all these mythical creatures by one wave of your hand. And
it was not missed on Peter, let me tell you. But I find this personally funny, and this is why I've included it. He said, go sledding, play with the kids, decorate fir trees, you get the gist. But no drinking or fighting allowed on that day, though, as Peter declared there were plenty of days of the year for that already in Moscow. And
we do it every day. Let's take one day where we don't purge. Instead of a purge day, it's a day where we don't purge. Purge.
Into the Rick and Morty episode. Just gotta purge. Sometimes you gotta purge, Morty.
Sometimes you gotta purge, Morty. You gotta sometimes you just gotta purge.
Oh, sometimes
That's
you gotta. That's where I live at. This is why I love in Moscow. Everybody always, why do you love Russian history? Why is that your special? Why not? These people are awesome.
Metal AF.
They know how to throw a party, okay?
All kinds of parties.
Before the Soviet years, like I wanted to be in on it. That's not necessarily true, guys. I'm sorry for that, but it's not necessarily untrue. Wouldn't be the early Romanov if we didn't burn down Moscow, though, at least once, right? Like, again, we got to burn Moscow down. Like, it has to happen, not early Romanovs if we don't. And it very much occurred during the first, like, January #Christmas, #New Year celebration, right?
New Year, new me, new Moscow.
New Year, new Moscow.
New everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of Peter's attitude. He wasn't too troubled about it because he didn't necessarily love Moscow in the first place. So one, like I said, he didn't love Moscow. And two, it is time yet again to prepare for war.
Trident War. Okay, Trident War.
It's wartime. It's wartime. Oh God, we're back in Moscow hard. Like, we don't care if it gets burned down. We're fucking soaking that shit in vodka.
We're painting the town red with people's blood, man. It's quick for life.
War. It's time for a war. Oh God, I love Russian history.
It's metal as fuck, girl. Oh my God, I knew Russia was metal, but again, I know that I probably learned about this stuff a long ass time ago, but it never stuck. And here now I'm actually appreciating the lifestyle of these people.
Wait until I go a billion years back down the line and we celebrate the Black Princess of Kiev. That is Jessica's like real
That sounds amazing.
Oh, people are cutting people's eyes out to make points. Like, God, I love this country.
#God bless Russia.
I know it's not a popular opinion, but God, I love this country. It's like where I'm about. Like, borderline of road warrior and like modern European society. And so I'm like, oh, I'm there. I can get the best of both worlds. Art, murder, yes.
So excited.
Oh, so that's where we're going to leave you off, you guys, this week. We're prepping up for Peter's next war, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to really start deep diving. I know that necessarily we have some conflicting, feelings about Peter, but we're going to start getting heavy into conflicting opinions about Peter because he's going to be both our war hero. He's going to do some real nasty shit domestically, It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be full Russia. Like, this full is the last full Russia that you really and truly get. And I know some people are going to tell me, oh, no, Catherine the Great. This is the last of, like, Romanov hardcore that you're going to get, in my opinion. And in my book, like, diggity-dig, like, Rurikid style, like, Yvonne style Russia. This is where it ends, in my opinion, and this is very much why I wanted to cut it off at Peter. You know, we spent 10 series covering everybody else. We're going to spend probably 3 or 4 covering Peter. But I think he's that important, and I think he's that important to the evolution of Russian history. So that said, when I'm done with this, though, guys, I got to get out of Russia for a little bit of time. It has warped my thinking. I can't go anywhere that I'm not like, oh, I'm a Tsaritsa. Like, fucking come at me. Come at me, bro. I turn into Pam on the elevator in Archer. Like, come at me, bro. That's what I've become.
Oh, God, I love Pam.
God, Pam's my
National
hero.
treasure. Yep.
Pam and freaking Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl.
Well, because I live my life in the Cheryl tradition. 110%.
Or
if you don't find out
Shorty.
if you have 4 train cars,
What's her name again?
one of which,
What is her actual name? Oh my God, I can't remember.
I think it is Cheryl. I think
They call her.
Cheryl Hunt.
Yeah.
Carol, Cheryl, Cherie, Sherry. I think
Carol. Yeah, that's what they call her.
Cheryl/Carol is my personal hero, just so everybody knows.
She does own an ocelot, so there's that.
I would do some shit like that.
Right?
110%. I'm sorry, do you want me to let go of my ice skating car? Could you get out so I could finish my ablutions? Like, that is just a good question if there ever was one. So everybody, that being said, we're going to finish up Peter. We're going to get out of Russia for a good little bit. What I'm hoping to do is I wanted to bring some shit that was, you know, virus related, but y'all know how much I don't want to do the 1918 pandemic. I just don't, because I don't give a shit and I don't find it interesting, and I think it's tagged on to the end of a world war, and I think that's the reason it spread so far. And I think anybody I think anybody that wants to explore that is boring as fuck. And I really do believe that. What I want to do instead is maybe take a look at the Marburg virus incident, which I think is more interesting because as we have all these conspiracy theories about labs spreading diseases, I think it's more fun to look at a bunch of people that fucked up with some Ebola monkeys and see it spread in and of a lab itself. So that's just me personally. I don't know.
Sounds like a perfect title.
It does.
Perfect title. Perfect heading.
Ebola monkeys. Hashtag fucked up Ebola monkeys. Ebola fruit bat monkeys. Hashtag fuck up. I think that's more interesting. The next person, and the reason I bring this up, the next person that asked me to do the 1918 Spanish epidemic, I will fucking
Google
come at
it.
you.
If you are so dumb you don't remember what that is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
that was too harsh.
Come at me.
Google it. No, Bethany.
I mean, I know the Ebola scare that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, no, the Spanish flu, the turn of the century.
Exactly. No, go ahead. Like, fuck.
Just type it into Google. Read the Wikipedia page on it. You will be fine.
And then understand that they are not comparable because we are not in the midst of a world war.
Well, and also understand this is why we can't say the Chinese coronavirus or the China flu, just like you shouldn't have ever said the Spanish flu. I mean, I understand the origins and all of that, but we are being very xenophobic when we talk about these types of diseases in this manner. A disease will always sprout from a country. Just because it didn't sprout from your country doesn't mean that, sorry.
Yes,
No,
girl.
I believe it.
You
because
tell
there
them,
are a
Stephanie. You
number-
tell them.
I mean, it's just like saying there are a number of hemorrhagic fevers that have begun here in the U.S., quite frankly, from our house mice problem that we have, that is a uniquely American problem that you maybe don't see in other countries, whereas there are more tick-borne hemorrhagic fevers. I mean, that it's just the same ridiculousness, but also I do want to explore that conspiracy theory, and because I don't believe it for a second, that's why I want to do the Marburg virus and be like, this is what happens when shit really goes wrong in the lab. You lock that shit down, okay?
You think this
Because
is
it's
bad.
Ebola.
You think this was bad. Yeah.
Think this is bad. Say hello to hemorrhagic fever, you fucking nonsense. But I can also say that I'm legitimately scared in this country. If we can't lock down for just a week, which would have cured a lot of corona problems, just 1 week, what happens if Ebola makes its way to this shore? Because I ain't fucking around. Jessica Manor will cut all of you before you even come to her fucking front door. Ebola and hemorrhagic fever, like yellow fever, whether it's like fever, all that shit is my greatest fear in the world. I'm not gonna die by bleeding out of my eyes and orifices. I'm not doing it.
Every vampire in the movies, like every vampire that dies, like bleeds from the eyes, or like, you know, every movie I've seen where witches bleed from the eyes. I don't want to bleed from the eyes. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through that.
Yeah,
You can't be
say hello
pleasant.
to like rectal Ebola. You don't want that shit. It's
Hell,
absolutely
freaking no! I
horrific.
struggle with diarrhea. I don't want no rectal Ebola. Oh my god! No, thank
you. You don't want any of it. You don't want any of it. I'm terrified. But that's why I say, like, everybody that's on my nuts right now to do the 1918, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. It's been done. It's boring. But I will do the Marburg incident. So
I'm gonna be
just
those
to
people that
flash
have to-
forward into what we're doing in the future. Once we finish Peter, because I got some more time to spend in Russia, y'all. I'm having
I'm
to
not
rush it.
I'm not gonna be happy to leave. I really am not. I feel like I've learned a lot, but not enough. Like I feel like I have. At first, when we started, it was, you know, just the toe. You know, when you dip your toe in the water, and then now I feel like I'm finally like getting submerged to where I'm like, all right, now I want to swim through Russian history. Like, tell me more. Tell me more. Like,
it's purely accidental. I will never do this again. I will never take you through decades and centuries of another country's history. I want to kill my fucking self. Okay, just quite frankly.
I know, but you shouldn't feel that way, Jess, because I'm learning. You're teaching somebody that doesn't know a damn thing about this or understand or comprehend, and being able to shift someone's mind that isn't yours or even close to yours, and actually help them learn and understand and correlate it to whatever the heck we're doing now with our life and our government, and actually, you know, go forward with that. It's a big deal, and you should be proud. It's all on you, Jay. Because I'm
proud because
I just got goosebumps. Like having somebody become interested in history. I lied before. I do know a little bit about a history. That's one of the some things that I know a little bit about. I was really good at it in high school. I really, really, really love it. So like I just got goosebumps when you were telling Jess how much like it meant to you that she got you interested. And you're submerged now. That was fantastic.
I mean,
I read before, maybe just like I've got real laugh tears. Oh my God, that was amazing. No, I lied before. I do know maybe a little bit what I'm talking about, you know.
I mean,
it was my favorite subject. I was going to major in it in college, but
oh God.
You learn there's no money in it. The same reason I went and got a second
this
math
is
degree.
why, and this is why when we talk, and this is why when we talk about it, I was that person that's like, art, dance, yeah, let's make no money, let's not rule, let's just be together. That is me. So the fact that I just learned a huge history lesson that I was the one that probably got beheaded. I was probably like 457. Okay, like that was
very
probably
specific number.
It's oddly specific.
If I had known this shit back then, I would have been saved. Okay, I would have lived. I would have been in the.
I don't want to be on top of that Russian deathbed. Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna say, if you don't think that Stalin targeted the same people, you're out of your friggin' mind. So maybe let's all watch out. I know that I've been on the anti-conservative train, but now I'm going to go on the anti-hyper-liberal one. Maybe take a second look at socialism, guys, because you don't want to be on top of that Stalinistic train of pit people. Just saying. We need the arts.
And coming from somebody who does not know a thing to learning about a bunch of things, it makes you go, okay, where do I want my scale to fit? Like, where am I going to put my chips? Like,
right.
How are we going to do this? Like, what do we need to do to make sure that as a whole, it stay balanced?
It doesn't have to be black or red. You can pick a number, believe it or not.
There are many, there are many colors of that damn rainbow. It does not mean black or white.
But like black or red are not our only shots here. All right, just sitting on the roulette wheel of governments and life. That being said, we're looking to go forward. I don't know. That's probably what we're going to do is Marburg. We got to get Nancy Wake done. I'm very excited to do that again with Gary Sherrod of French History Podcast. It's just Nancy is taking a lot more out of me than I initially thought, especially since it's VE Day. Let's just all acknowledge that. But
yes.
I'm getting a little more World War II than I like to get on this podcast with Nancy, but I'm willing to go into it because I think she's a very important figure. It's just taken me some steps to get into it because, again, I don't traditionally do the Second World War. I think it's been done to death. That's why Share Me works for me because at least it's World War I. So that's kind of where we live at. I've not got anything else to say as far as the show goes. Okay, plugs. Before I plug our shit, does anybody have any plugs that they want to do for shows, TV shows, podcasts, whatever it is? Does anybody have a plug?
Stay at home.
I got a plug, but it's not for a show or a podcast.
That doesn't matter. Plug it.
Okay. Okay, guys, so this is kind of tagging on to my last plug where we have to realize that domestic abuse and child abuse is skyrocketing during the pandemic. People are at home with their abusers for longer amounts of time. The abusers are under greater stress, and so they're reacting, and it's not a good situation. If you are in a crisis, text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. That will immediately, 24/7, connect you with a crisis counselor. This can be for domestic violence of any sort. It can also be for child abuse. Even if you just have a suspicion, please try to reach out and get help, because I know we're not seeing our neighbors a lot right now, but we are still the first line of defense for these children. So if we are suspecting something, really suspecting something's going on, even if you're not sure, please text HOME, HOME, to 741-741, or get up with your local authorities. This is important, and these kids have nobody else.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Amen, sister. See that
Perfect.
plug I'm behind. And I'm going to say, see something, say something. And I don't mean in a terroristic effect. Like, just please, if you're looking at any kind of domestic abuse, if you see something, say something. And I'm not necessarily saying say something to those victims that you, please say something to the authorities. Please say something to somebody that can do something about it. And it's going to be very important. So,
Especially,
Bethany, we've got to get on doing like PSA style for that. We need to make it like something featured.
right. And actually, I was going to add on to that. This is the thing, is like, even if you had your speculations or your concerns prior to this lockdown, just imagine what it is happening now.
Say something now. Yeah.
Say something now.
If you
know,
saw
or
that
it's
kid
gonna be
in
too-
your kid's class, especially before, and I don't mean to make it all child abuse, spousal abuse is very important too, but our kids
Abuse
are
is abuse
kids,
is abuse.
So,
So,
yeah.
Well, and just remember that if you do report something, if you're wrong, first of all, you can report anonymously. You can report giving your name, whatever you want to do. If you're wrong, it's no backlash. I mean, don't feel guilty. I know I'm from a very small town, and sometimes it's like when we report, it's like, okay, we're straining the resources. You're not. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's fine. Don't let anyone make you feel like what you did was wrong.
yeah.
I mean,
It's a good thing if you're wrong.
hopefully, exactly. Hopefully you're wrong. It's just, this is a silent epidemic within a pandemic. So
Exactly.
If you're not, you could have saved a life. You could have saved, like, so who cares?
Right.
Who cares? If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're not, you've saved a life. So, you know, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. Where do people find you, though, on the follow-up of that, Steph? Like, where can we find you on Twitter?
Oh, you guys can find me at Steph_Andrews AU. That's my Twitter handle. You can also find me you can't find me on Instagram because I don't remember that handle. So yeah, stick to Twitter.
I think it's kind of close to the same, except for no, I don't think you have an underscore.
I think you're right. Oh, thank you, Bethany.
I think it's Steph Andrews AU.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies. They're right.
I've tagged you recently a lot, so I think I've got it memorized.
Okay, that's just because of how much I Insta stalk you.
I would love an Insta stalker.
I never get on Instagram. I never do. I'm sorry, listeners and followers. Like, very rarely do I post stuff. I used to try to be better about it. Now I just don't even care. It's not for me. Twitter's more for me. But the point is, I do get on there specifically to Insta stalk Stephanie, and for no other reason. I never look at anybody else's stuff.
It's amazing.
I have to tag her if I want her to like it and see it. I have to physically put her in it. Otherwise, you're her go-to. So after 10 plus years of friendship, you've snagged my bestest friend. So good job.
Because otherwise, I can't do Twitter posts where I'm like, this is the thing, though. It's not even about that. I love to see Stephanie's life, but I also love to turn around and then do Twitter posts about how I'm stalking her.
She does. It's amazing.
It's about the Twitter posts that follow
What are you doing?
my psychotically stalking her on Instagram. By the way, bitch, I liked all your photos. I just wanted
I really
to
like the whole.
cool. Oh, I liked all your photos. I like it to be full Twitter. I want it to be as creepy as I can make it when I let her know that I have Instagram stalked her. And that's the only reason I get on Instagram.
Not even to me. Not even to me.
Well, Everyone is free to Instagram stalk me at Steph Andrews AU. Yes. And please hit me up on Twitter, especially if you do have concerns about a domestic violence or child abuse situation. Slide into my DMs and I will help you out.
Absolutely. Bethany, where do people find you?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Bethany Skelton 5. That's the number 5. And then you can find me on Instagram at Bethany RN24. I also have Facebook. I have Snapchat. Weirdly enough, I have TikTok that I don't use. I just like to watch weird people actually use TikTok. But anyways, so I do have those social media outlets. If you have a problem with anything I say, please, again, DM Jessica, not me, because half the time I don't even remember what I just said. I don't pretend to be a historian. I don't pretend to pronounce names right. But by then, hopefully, at this point in the stage of podcast, you figure that out. So, take me as I am.
Take me as I am.
But you could also reach Bethany if you're trying to get a hold of Stephanie for the situation that we just discussed. Anything to do with domestic abuse.
Of course.
That being said, we will also forward you on to Stephanie at Jessica B. Manor. And I have to say, like the house, not the behavior. So MANOR versus the other spelling, Jessica B. Manor, at both Twitter and Instagram. I shouldn't say that. I am on Instagram. I will get the notifications if you message me, but that's
you
it.
don't have emotions. That's why it's not that manner. It's the other manner.
It's the other manner, because I don't have any.
I know. I don't have emotions. I like death and disaster.
I mean, you got it, though.
Where I live. That being said, please do, if you have any questions that are directed at Steph, hit me up there. I will forward them where they need to go. Also, if you have questions to do with the podcast, you can always DM me on Twitter. You can sometimes catch me on Instagram. I'm not super active there, but you can definitely catch me on Twitter. You can also catch me at Jessica Manor at bodycountpod.com. That'll go straight to my emails. And if your question's stupid, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer it because I don't have time.
Hashtag honest.
If your question is valid, if your question is good and valid, I will be on top of it. I will send you my sources. I will do whatever I have to do to show you the other people's work I've ripped off. But if your question is stupid, you can go F yourself.
Like, hashtag if you're not educationally sound, I'm not going to respond.
No, I'm just saying if it's a decent question. If it's not, you said Ramadanovsky wrong. Like, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I'm not into
Seriously, y'all need to watch this video today on Discord. For real.
We suggest y'all go watch this on our Patreon because that's all going to make a lot more sense if you see it. That being said, please go to bigheadsmedia.com. Click on the history tab on podcasts. We're right there. You can buy our merchandise there because we have merchandise now, apparently. I forget. I'll put it out on social media sometime this week, or Bethany will. Who are we kidding?
I know my plan.
That also said, please go to bodycounthistorypod.com. You can listen to all the episodes there. It's become apparent to me that not everybody, like I thought, had either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. There's a vast bunch of people that don't have anywhere to listen to podcasts. You can go and listen to them at the website.
Yeah.
So now that we're done with all that, I think it's time for our goodbyes for this week.
Bye.
Me.
Bye.
Peace out.